we move from Mike Pence to Chris Christie, who also just recently announced he'll be running for president in 2024 against Trump. And he is a much more entertaining figure, and he's the most aggressively opposed to what Trump stands for. And while none of these candidates would be someone I would vote for over a Democratic candidate who agrees with my policy positions more, at least Chris Christie does recognize Trump to be, in this moment, now he does. He didn't in the past. He endorsed Trump, obviously, 2016, but now he recognizes the danger of Trump and the threat that he poses, and he calls that out, which is good to see. We'll start with, I didn't cover this specifically, but now is a chance to do it. In response to the announcement of Chris Christie that he was running for president, Trump posted a very, as Chris Christie will point out, childish attack on Chris Christie's weight. And the video that Trump posted, you'll see played on CNN, and then you'll see Chris Christie's response that I think was absolutely correct.
What's worse? So Trump last night, in response to you running, ran a rather mocking video on social media. There it is. It's you. I guess he's making fun of your weight. That's his. We're going to be small. That's his response. What did you make of that? What was your?
So for our podcast listeners, quickly, in case you're not watching, it was a Photoshop or video edit that made it look like, in his announcement speech, Chris Christie was standing in front of a buffet of food.
Your response to that?
You know, when I saw Jake, it just renewed in my own mind what a child he is. He's a baby. Whenever you want to criticize him in any way, that's the way he responds. And you and I are both lucky enough to be parents. And if we had a child who conducted themselves like that, we'd send them to their room, not to the White House.
Yeah.
And I think character is destiny for this country. And we've got to make a decision about what the character of the person should be who sits behind the desk in the Oval Office.
It's correct. It's absolutely correct. He's childish. And the larger point being noted there, one of the things that I kind of interacted with, the talking point I've interacted with in my personal life, with people who I know they're good people and I have a connection with them, and they, for example, in 2016 and 2020, would vote for Trump. And I would ask them, why? I know he violates your own principles. I know he doesn't stand for, as a person, his character, what you stand for. Why do you overlook all of that? And it would kind of be this, waving away, brushing off of the importance of character in leaders. And of course, it can be true that someone with bad character could get through good policies, and that could be all well and good. But if you give it enough time, I do think inevitably someone with low character will burn you or will damage the country severely in that type of position of power. With severely low character, I do think can often come inevitable damage. And that's what we saw with Trump, where some people, they liked his economic policy or whatever. They liked his stance at the time in the campaign, not his lifelong stance, but the campaign stance on abortion or whatever it might be. And so they chose to vote for him. And those who aren't just complete cultists then were stunned when we saw something like January 6th, and some Republicans turned away from Trump because of that. And for those individuals, could we have known January 6th was going to happen? No, not specifically. But I do think the people predicting, listen, his rhetoric is dangerously anti-democratic. And right now, no, he's not a fascist leader. His language, his actions are showing indications of a fascistic way of thinking. And then, boom, lo and behold, we find ourselves with a very fascistic moment like January 6th and Trump's attempt to install himself president, even though he lost for another term. And so I do think caring about the character values, logical consistency, and all of these important things about the person, as well as the policy positions, is important. And I think Chris Christie is pointing that out. And then here's a little bit from Chris Christie during a Fox and Friends interview.
Well, look, I believe the Republican Party has been losing now for nearly 7 years. after Donald Trump's win in 2016, which I was a large part of. We haven't been able to win anything since then. Lost the House in 2018, lost the Senate and the White House in 2020, those Georgia Senate seats in early 21, and we horribly underperformed in 2022. Lost governorships, lost the Senate seat, and barely won the House of Representatives when everyone thought we'd be at 240 or 250 seats.
Red wave.
So we're tired of losing. And look, if the person at the top gets all the credit when things go well, they also must be accountable for what happens when things go badly. And the fact is that Donald Trump, the candidates he picked...
Absolutely, something we talked about a lot. And it is true that MAGA, it's going to bring the GOP down with it, honestly, because they're not giving up. Well, how could they? Because the message is you keep losing and they're just saying, no, we're winning, but it's just being stolen. So we're going to see this MAGA movement, if it doesn't take the country down with it, which I'm hopeful, optimistic that it won't based on the activism of individuals like you and me, it won't take the country down with it, but it will take the GOP, at least for a certain period of time, down with it electorally because of the majority of Americans rejecting this anti-democratic acceptance of low character individuals and dangerous movement and associated ideology. And then one more moment here from the Christie campaign over the last 24 hours, answering for why he previously supported Trump and now doesn't.
This is you in 2016 about Donald Trump.
He's rewriting the playbook of American politics because he's providing strong leadership that's not dependent upon the status quo. He's a good friend. He is a strong and resolute leader.
I am confident that leadership can be provided by just one man, Donald Trump. We're going to be working real hard right up until Election Day tomorrow to get the wins for this guy and put him in the White House.
What changed?
He changed. He changed, Brett, in material ways. I've known him for 22 years. And what I was hoping to do by endorsing him early, recognizing that he had won in New Hampshire, he had won in South Carolina, and almost won in Iowa. He was the nominee. And I thought as a longtime friend, I could make him a better candidate and a better president. I was wrong.
All right, if you look at this is you.
I don't know about he changed. He probably got worse, but there were a lot of warning signs. And he said it, he thought he could make Trump better, but now he's definitely changed his stance on that, and that's important.